HMS Standard was a 64-gun Royal Navy third-rate ship of the line, launched on 8 October 1782 at Deptford. She was the last of the 15 Intrepid-class vessels, which were built to a design by John Williams. Early career. She was commissioned in September 1782 under Captain William Dixon, and recommissioned in March 1783 as a guard ship at Plymouth. She was recommissioned in September 1786 under Charles Chamberlain, still as a guard ship, and paid off in February 1788. In April 1795 she was recommissioned under Captain Joseph Ellison, for Admiral Sir John Borlase Warren's squadron for the Quiberon operation. Standard sailed for the East Indies on 28 February 1796, temporarily under the command of Captain Lucan. By October she was in the North Sea. In February 1797 she was under Captain Thomas Parr, and then in September under Captain Thomas Shivers. From mid-April to mid-May, Standard was one of the many vessels caught up in the Nore Mutiny. On 5 May the crew had taken over the ship and trained cannon on officers' country over the issue of pay in arrears. After the mutiny collapsed, one of the leaders on Standard, William Wallace, shot himself to avoid trial and hanging. Her surgeon's mate William Redfern was sentenced to death for his role in the mutiny, later commuted to transportation for life to the colony of New South Wales. She was recommissioned in February 1799 as a prison ship at Sheerness under Lieutenant Thomas Pam. In November she was fitted as a convalescent ship at Chatham. 1 month later she was recommissioned under Lieutenant Jack Dalby as a hospital ship at Sheerness, Mediterranean. Between March and May 1801 Standard was refitted at Chatham as a 64-gun ship, being commissioned in April under Captain Charles Jewett. For the North Sea, she was paid off, repaired, fitted at various times, and recommissioned in August 1805. Standard was recommissioned under Captain Thomas Harvey. She then sailed to the Mediterranean to join Rear Admiral Sir Thomas Louis' squadron. While in the Mediterranean she served during Vice Admiral Sir John Duckworth's unsuccessful 1807 Dardanelles operation. On 19 February, Standard suffered 3 wounded while forcing the Dardanelles. Near a redoubt on Point Pesquis the British encountered a Turkish squadron of 1 ship of 64 guns, 4 frigates and 8 other vessels, most of which they ran aground. Marines from Pompey spiked the 31 guns on the redoubt. Standard and Thunderer destroyed 3 Turkish frigates that had run ashore. On 27 February Standard had 2 men wounded assisting a Royal Marine landing party on the island of Prota. On the way out, the Turkish castle at Abydos fired on the British squadron. Granite cannonballs weighing 700 to 800 pounds and measuring 6 feet 6 inches in circumference hit Windsor Castle, Standard and active. The shot itself killed 4 men on Standard. It also started a fire and explosion that led 4 seamen to jump overboard, where they drowned. In all, Standard lost 4 dead, 47 wounded, and 4 missing. In all, the British lost 29 killed and 138 wounded. No ship was lost. On 26 March 1808, she and the 38-gun frigate Active captured the Franco-Italian brig Friedland, which they took to Malta as a prize. Captain Richard Mowbray of Active took possession of Friedland after a chase of several hours. The brig might have escaped had she not lost her topmast. She was 1 year old and was armed with 16 French 12-pounder guns. Active took her prize to Malta, together with the prisoners, who were included Commodore Don Amilcar Paolucci, Commander-in-Chief of the Italian Marine, and Knight of the Iron Crown. On 16 June, Standard was sailing off Corfu when she encountered the Italian gunboat Volpe, which was armed with 1 iron 4-pounder, and the French dispatch boat Leguera. When the wind fell, Harvey sent his pinnace, his cutter and his yawl in pursuit. The British caught up with the quarry after having rowed for 2 hours. They captured Volk despite facing stiff resistance and ran Leguera aground about 4 miles north of Cape Street, Mary. The French crew took to the rocks above the vessel and kept up a continuous small arms fire on the British seamen, who took possession of the vessel and towed her off. They then burned both vessels. Despite the resistance and small arms fire, the British had suffered no casualties. Last years. In 1809 she was in the Baltic under Captain Askew Hollis as part of the Gunboat War. On May 18, a squadron consisting of Standard, the frigate Owen Glendower, Avenger, Ranger, Rose and Snipe captured the island of Anholt. A landing party of seamen and marines under the command of Captain William Selby of Owen Glendower, with the assistance of Captain Edward Nichols of the Standard's Marines, landed. The Danish garrison of 170 men put up a sharp but ineffectual resistance that killed 1 British Marine and wounded 2. The garrison then surrendered. The British took immediate possession of the island. Hollis, in his report, stated that Anholt was important in that it could furnish supplies of water to His Majesty's fleet, and afford a good anchorage to merchant vessels sailing to and from the Baltic. However, the principal objective of the mission was to restore the lighthouse on the island to its pre-war state to facilitate the movement of British men of war and merchantmen navigating the dangerous seas there. On the 19th of December 1810, Standard sailed for the Mediterranean again. In February 1811 she was on the Portugal station, temporarily under Captain Joshua Horton. In May she was under the temporary command of Captain Charles Fleming. Fate. She was paid off into ordinary in 1813. Standard was broken up in 1816.